I first met Ozzy when I was barely 18, standing on the edges of a world I didn't yet understand. He walked into my father's office to discuss management with Black Sabbath, and in that moment, I caught a glimpse of the life that would eventually become mine, a world of music, chaos, ambition, and risk that felt both intoxicating and terrifying. I had no idea then how deeply our lives would intertwine, or how love could pull me away from everything I had been raised to inherit. Sharon Osbourne's story is not simply about fame, television, or rock and roll. It is about survival, devotion, resilience, and the kind of strength that is forged through repeated heartbreak rather than comfort. Growing up in the shadow of power. Sharon Rachel Arden was born in London in 1952 into a household where power ruled more loudly than affection. Her father, Don Arden, was one of the most feared and influential managers in the music industry, a man who commanded obedience through intimidation and control. The Arden home was not a place of warmth or reassurance, but one of tension, arguments, and emotional distance. Displays of tenderness were rare, and silence often carried more weight than words. From a young age, Sharon learned that love was conditional, strength was expected, and vulnerability was a liability. While wealth and influence surrounded her, emotional safety did not, shaping a childhood defined by vigilance rather than comfort. Loss. That changed everything. At just 6 years old, Sharon experienced a loss that permanently altered her emotional landscape when her mother died in a car accident. The absence left behind was not only devastating, but destabilizing, removing the one source of softness in her life. Grief became something she carried quietly, without guidance or support, teaching her early that pain could be deeply personal and profoundly isolating. That loss planted a lifelong fear of abandonment and reinforced the belief that nothing, love included, was guaranteed to last. Even as she grew older, that early wound shaped how she bonded, protected herself, and fought to hold on to the people she loved. Learning survival before innocence. By her teenage years, Sharon understood power, manipulation, and endurance in ways most people never do. Watching her father dominate the music business taught her that talent alone meant nothing without leverage and control. Their relationship was marked by constant conflict, as Sharon's growing independence clashed with his rigid authority. Arguments were intense, silence afterward punishing, but each confrontation sharpened her instincts. She learned how to stand her ground, how to negotiate, and how to survive in environments where compassion was absent. These lessons were harsh, but they prepared her for the unforgiving world she would later navigate. Stepping into adulthood, armed with scars. When Sharon reached adulthood, she was already battle-tested. She understood business, power dynamics, and emotional defense, but she also carried deep emotional scars. Trust did not come easily, and love felt dangerous. Yet beneath her toughness was a longing for connection and loyalty that would eventually define the most important choice of her life. That choice would pull her away from her father's legacy and into a future filled with uncertainty. Choosing love over security. In the late 1970s, Sharon faced a defining crossroads. She could remain within her father's empire, protected by wealth and influence, or she could walk away for love. Ozzy Osbourne, battered by addiction, public criticism, and self-destruction, was seen by many as a lost cause. But Sharon saw past the chaos. She saw vulnerability, brilliance, and a man worth fighting for. Choosing Ozzy meant losing her father's protection, her financial safety, and the life she had been raised to inherit. It was a decision rooted not in logic, but in belief and devotion. Exile, sacrifice, and survival. Walking away from her father meant starting over completely. Sharon and Ozzy faced financial instability, relentless criticism, and constant crises. Ozzy's struggles with addiction demanded unwavering vigilance, while Sharon took on multiple roles: manager, protector, strategist, and emotional anchor. Their marriage in 1982 was not romanticized or easy. It was forged through hardship, commitment, and the shared understanding that survival required teamwork. Love, in their world, was an act of endurance, rebuilding a career against all odds. Through determination and relentless effort, Sharon rebuilt Ozzy's career from the ground up. Albums like Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman marked not just musical success, but personal redemption. Sharon handled contracts, protected Ozzy from exploitation, and ensured stability for their growing family. The creation of Ozzfest became a landmark achievement, revitalizing Ozzy's legacy while giving new artists a platform. Behind the success, however, were sleepless nights, constant pressure, and sacrifices that went unseen. Inviting the world inside, when The Osbournes aired in 2002, the family became a global spectacle. What audiences perceived as humor and chaos masked deeper struggles with addiction, health, and emotional exhaustion. The cameras erased privacy, turning intimate moments into entertainment. Sharon later acknowledged that while the show brought opportunity, it also magnified vulnerability and left little space to heal in silence. Facing illness with resolve. That same year, Sharon was diagnosed with colon cancer. While the world saw confidence and sharp wit, she privately endured grueling treatments that tested her physically and emotionally. Chemotherapy stripped away strength and comfort, but she refused to retreat from her role as a mother and partner. Even in vulnerability, Sharon remained fiercely present, proving that resilience is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. Family crises and constant vigilance challenges continued as Ozzy suffered a serious accident and their children faced their own struggles. Sharon balanced recovery with advocacy, caregiving, and protection, often carrying the emotional weight of the family alone. These years blurred together in a cycle of hospitals, decisions, and crisis management, demanding a level of endurance few could sustain. Reinvention in the public eye. Despite everything, Sharon carved out her own identity in television, becoming a respected and recognizable presence through talent competitions and talk shows. Her sharp honesty, humor, and empathy resonated because they were earned through lived experience. She was not performing strength, she embodied it. Public scrutiny and personal health choices. Later controversies and public criticism reminded Sharon that fame remains unforgiving. Yet she continued to face life directly, including making proactive health decisions to protect her future. By speaking openly about her experiences, she transformed personal challenges into sources of empowerment for others. Marriage, forgiveness, and complexity. Sharon's marriage endured betrayals, reconciliation, and growth. Forgiveness was not automatic or simple, but intentional. It reflected her belief that love, when worth preserving, demands honesty and effort rather than denial. A legacy still being written. Sharon Osbourne's life cannot be reduced to headlines or moments of controversy. It is the story of a woman shaped by loss, hardened by experience, and defined by loyalty and resilience. She chose love over safety, endurance over escape, and authenticity over perfection. Her journey reminds us that strength is built through survival, and that the scars we carry often become the clearest evidence of how far we've come.